Good afternoon, Chairman and esteemed committee members. My name is Hope Ledford, and I'm with Chamber of Progress in respectful opposition to SB 783. Chamber of Progress is a tech industry coalition advocating for the progressive future for tech and inclusive access to that future. Our partners include innovators like Apple and Google, but they do not have a vote or veto over our positions. One of our top priorities is making the internet safe for young people. However, we believe this bill would threaten the privacy of all users and disproportionately harm Virginia's vulnerable youth. This bill requires platforms to obtain verifiable parental consent for minors to access an array of online services and resources. Consent laws, while aimed at protecting youth, can be harmful, particularly in cases of parental conflict or abuse, especially for the 62% of Virginian LGBTQ+ youth who do not live in a safe and affirming households. Online spaces and resources provide critical support. So we are concerned that this could be weaponized by anti-LGBTQ+ guardians, in particular, to prevent LGBTQ+ youth from accessing community, resources, and safe spaces online. Secondly, verifiable parental consent threatens privacy by forcing platforms to collect age data from all users, which risk cybersecurity breaches that disproportionately harm LGBTQ+ youth who already face significant harassment and threats offline. Chamber Progress supports privacy protections for consumers that clarify their rights and make clear the obligations for data processors and controllers. We commend Virginia legislators for their balanced approach to data privacy, which has set a model for other states. However, the only way to achieve verifiable parental consent is by identifying all users of all ages, which raises significant privacy issues. Please oppose SB 783 and support the Commonwealth's most vulnerable kids who use online spaces as a source of information, resources, community, and lifeline.
The witness please provide us with an example of LGBTQ-themed websites or anything else that someone would not be able to access under this bill. And I say this as the two out members of the state Senate are on this committee. And so obviously we're pretty tuned in on, in terms of what's going on here. The way that I read the bill in terms of a controller or processor shall obtain, it seems that the way that it's written is it's supposed to be the default of them, of the tech company in this case, of whoever is hosting the website itself, and basically saying you can't put trackers on. But does this mean that, for example, if you have an LGBTQ themed, a news site, and there's a whole number of them, Washington Blade, Metro Weekly, Advocate, name it, that these kids would not be able to read the news that's affecting their communities?
Thank you so much for your question, Senator Rome. At our reading of the bill, we believe, like, for example, there is the Trevor Project, which is a great organization that works with LGBTQ+ youth. And so our reading of the bill, we believe it requires platforms to obtain parental consent to access that service. So to answer your question, yes, it could end up restricting.
Mr. Chairman, follow-up question.
Yes.
So why is it that the Trevor Project in that case, I'm very familiar with Trevor Project. I like a lot of the work that they do. I like a lot of work that Trans Lifeline does. A lot of those groups. Why is it then that what is on those websites that disallows someone else to be able to access? What is it that they're using on those sites that's putting a tracker on someone, and therefore they're not going to be able to be in compliance with this law? How does that work?
Yes, so I believe they have a resource that if a young person is interacting with LGBTQ+ content online, sometimes there will be some targeted resources that will pop up on their feed or whatever it may be that has resources for them, whether that be resources for their health or resources for their mental health, that sort of thing. And so we believe that that sort of service would be limited.
Mr. Chair, follow-up question. So at the same time, just to make sure that I'm correct, Mr. Chair, that the user can still go onto that service's website, can still check that website itself. The issue here is about whether or not the website is more or less responding back to them at that point by saying, okay, we're going to, have this push thing that goes over to you. Wouldn't they still be able to access the site itself? And why is it that simply interacting with the site automatically means that that user is going to be profiled?
Your question. Again, our reading of the bill, we read it as if it prohibits access to online services and resources. And so we believe that by requiring platforms to obtain verifiable parental consent, that would restrict what you're saying.